Okay, it goes back quite a ways.
Okay.
In 1951, I had graduated from high school, couldn't find a job, so I decided to enlist in the Air Force. And I met the man I eventually married in the recruiting station. Believe it or not, we rode that train right down through Douglas here, which no longer exists, to San Antonio, Texas, where we did basic training. And he got assigned to a schooling in Wichita, Kansas. I stayed for basic there and was eventually sent to Riverside, California. Fine, join the service so you can travel and go right back home. But he eventually was assigned Oscoda, Michigan, which is there on Lake Huron, beautiful place. And we had like 30 dates in 2.5 years before we got married. I got out of the Air Force because I was in MATS, Military Air Transport Service, and he was in Air Defense Command, and there was no base we could be together. So we went to Michigan, had a daughter there, and when his 4 years were up, he got out of the Air Force and he went back to California, back to the railroad, where he had 12 years basically that he had put in there. Started when he was in high school, a young man, and decided that was a dead end and got back in the Air Force, and he was assigned to Tripoli, Libya. I had some time looking that up, and because in my mind's eye, I'm going to be taking a baby into a jungle with lions and tigers and all that sort of stuff. Turned out it's on the coast, the Mediterranean coast. It was a lovely place to be at the time. In 1950. 6. And then we had a son born there in 57. And 2.5 years, way too long to live in that nation. That was not a fun place to be. Then we were assigned concurrent to Zaragoza, Spain, and we were there for 18 months from Zaragoza, Spain, and we spent the time there, all of our time off. We traveled all over and went through Europe. It was a wonderful time for me to view some of the rest of the world. And we went from there to Columbus, Ohio, where we were for 4 years, and had a son born in Columbus. So we were now a family of 3 kids. And we went from Columbus, Ohio to Klamath Falls, Oregon. Beautiful, beautiful place. Loved it up there. And we were there for 3 years. I worked then for the Singer Company because I've been associated with sewing machines since I was 7 years old. And left there and went to Tucson. And we were in Tucson for 7 years. And while we were in Tucson, he was assigned to either, I get them mixed up, one of them was Thailand and the other was Korea. So we had 2 full remote assignments, and a lot of TDY, which is temporary duty. He went to Panama, he went to Myrtle Beach, one of the Carolinas, I can't remember which. And I was left home working a 40-hour-week job, 3 kids, vehicles, house, animals.
And this is Tucson?
In Tucson, 7 years there. We left Tucson. While we were in Tucson, we visited here in Portal. My very first visit was when we were on our way back to California from the first time he got out of the Air Force.
And then say again, when was that?
That was in the December of 1955. Our daughter was 8 months old, and I, for the life of me, I was so, I guess, ingrained in being a mom and taking care of this child, and I could not see beauty in this place. It seemed so remote, so desolate, so brown because it was winter. And at any rate, we visited a lot when we were.
You haven't said what the connection that your husband had to this.
Oh, yes.
Where were you coming
Oh, my gosh. He ranted and raved about this place because he was raised here. He was born in Douglas in 1928, and he was raised here by his grandparents. Until he was 6 years old, because his mother and his natural father had divorced when he was still an infant.
Now, he was born in Douglas. Was he raised in Douglas?
No, he was raised right here on the ranch, on the Maloney Ranch, 40 acres it was at that point in time, and they had a big orchard right where this house is now. And he had across the creek, he had a special rock. He went up and he played cowboys and Indians all by himself.